So let us return to our initial printout of the data in Mobile Standards. As you see, it hasn't come out particularly well. It's put the text above the banner, which is not really where I want it. I want it below the banner. And if you remember, what I did was I created a placeholder object. Now, placeholders are very good if you're using the code behind technique for formatting the web page. If you're using code behind, you need to be able to point to objects on the page as to where you're actually going to display your content. And moreover, when you use the code behind method, you are effectively seeing the page as composed of a set of objects, of not necessarily of HTML text, but of objects which, if you like, wrap up or capture HTML, okay, or enclose HTML. So that's what we need to do. We need to create some objects in which this HTML will appear. Okay. Now, the easiest object we can create is what is called the literal control. Okay. So I'll just show you now. We're going to reformat this page to make it appear inside placeholder 1. Okay. If we go back, if we look again on the ASPX page, the design part of the site, you'll see that there is placeholder 1. Okay. It's below the banner. So what we need to do is to place all our output from the database inside placeholder 1. Okay, so let's go back into the coding. And so let's now, I'll just keep these there for now, just but what I do now is I type in placeholder 1, placeholder 1 dot. Now then, say every writable object on an ASP page has a category beneath it called controls. Okay, so placeholder 1 dot controls, if you like, meaning the visible objects that comprise placeholder 1. Placeholder 1 controls dot, let's say, add. And if we just wanted to display ordinary text, the control we add is called the literal control. Okay, so type in here new literal control. Okay, I'll click on that one. And then open bracket, I've gone onto a new line, excuse me, open bracket, and then we can put in the text we want to put in. So I'm going to put in the author, okay, into that literal control, okay, and then I put in an extra bracket, and that should cover that, okay. So that's the first one, okay. Now then, I'm going to do the same with week and title. Again, placeholder 1, the place I'm going to put it, and in say controls dot add, okay, and then so we're creating another control inside placeholder 1, and again new literal control, and again db read dot item, and then open bracket quote week. Okay, so this then we're getting the week data, and we're putting it inside our little control, which exists inside the placeholder. Okay, and then finally let's do the same with title. So placeholder 1 dot controls dot add, open bracket, new literal control, open bracket db read dot item, and then open bracket quote title. Okay, I think I might have put in too few round brackets. I think yes, there are three. So let's just put 3 brackets, because there are 3 sets of brackets. There's the first set of brackets where I add new literal control, open bracket, db item, open bracket. So there are 3 brackets to actually close the circle. Okay, so we've got that. So we can get rid of this response right, db read item, author, and title. And now these should appear inside that placeholder. So let's just try it. Let's see if that works. Okay, so it's kind of compiling, and what we should see is below the banner we should be able to see our text. Yes, it does. There it appears. Okay, it's appearing below the banner, but of course this is not very good. It's not elegant. It's put everything in the same line, which is certainly what we don't want. Ideally we want the things spaced out. Okay, and we certainly want them on separate lines. Now it's very easy to put them on separate lines. Okay, all have to do is put in, if you like, what in typical HTML is the break tag. Okay, close some of these tabs on the browser. So if I just go into the break tag, if I just add a break tag into the code, I can quite quickly create a new line. So if I just add again, oh dear, so I just stop, press the stop button, which will stop it debugging. So I now put it placeholder 1, controls, add, and sort of like new literal control, open bracket, and I can type in some HTML here. So I type in something like BR / like that, okay, and I put 2 brackets around it. And what that should do is then just put in a new line every time. So if I now play that, so after every time it displays the week, the author, and the title, it should then put a line between that, and such that the subsequent line would have the next record. Okay, so now we've got it. Now we have it in 2 lines. So that's a little bit better, but it's not that nice in the sense that it's not got separate gaps. Now, as you see, what we definitely have to have here to actually make this appear nicely is, in fact, a table. Okay, because that is the logical structure for this data that we're presenting. We're presenting, you know, a grid of rows and columns. This is quite obviously a table. Okay, so let's try to create a table in the code. Now, this is actually quite easy, and it's because ASP has got a built-in table row, and table cell object to use. Okay, so first of all, let us. Okay, I need to actually stop debugging before I can do any coding. First of all, we can actually create a table object. Okay, so I say dim t as new table. Okay, that will create a table. And what I can then do is, instead of having all of this stuff here, I can put in, while db read, okay, I can say t dot, like with the placeholder 1, I say t controls dot add, okay, and I can say something like this, new table row, okay, because that is a table row object, okay. I can do that. That's not, however, not very sensible, because I need to refer to this table row, because I need to put cells inside the table row. Okay, so what I will do instead is actually here say dim tr as new table row. Okay, and then for each piece of data, I'll create a table cell. Okay, so I say dim tc as new table cell. Okay. Here I'm going to add my text, tc dot text. The text inside the cell is going to be, guess what we've read from the database. So we're going to say db read item author. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is add that table, that cell, into the table row. So I can then say tr dot controls dot add tc. Okay, so it's adding that cell with the text of the author in it into the row. And I just need to do exactly the same for the others. So let me just kind of delete some of this text here. So I'm going to create another. I mean, I'm doing this simply. So I'm creating tc1 as new table cell. Okay, tc1 text equals db read dot item title. Okay, and then again I add this another tr dot controls dot add tc1. So that's adding that second cell into my row. Okay, now I add another one, dim TC2 as new table cell. Okay, TC2.text equals DB read item open bracket quote week. Okay, so and then I put that cell again into the row. TC2, sorry, TR controls dot add TC2. So I've added the cell into my row, and now at the end of each loop, each time I go through the loop, I need to add the row into the table. So I type in, finally I type in T dot controls dot add TR. Okay, so now you see I've created there. Let me just go through that again. So I created my table object. Okay, now I go through the loop, which is going to loop through all of the records in the database. I say dim t. I create a table row. Then I create a table cell. I put the text, the author text, into the table cell. Then I add the cell to the row. Okay. Then I create another cell. I put the title text into that cell, and then I add that cell to the row. Then I create another cell, put in the week into the text into that cell. Then I add that cell to the row, and finally I add the row to the table. Okay, that table. Now if I did that, that would still show nothing, because it has to appear in cell somewhere. So finally, the very final thing I do is I add the table itself to the placeholder. So I say placeholder1 dot controls dot add t, and finally inside the placeholder 1 I will have the contents of the database. So let us see now, does that work? So again, it's a bit slow because I'm recording the audio video. Okay, so now, okay, so you can't really tell, but it genuinely is a table. You could tell if I made the border visible on the table. So let me just do that. So I'll go back into Mobile Standards again. And so TS table, I can set some things here. So, oh dear, I keep forgetting. So if I click on T and press dot, T dot, okay, I can actually set some values here. Then I've got, for example, border width. I can set the border width equals 2, for example. Okay, and T dot, I think I'm border color. Okay, you can say equals color equals drawing color. We've got all kinds of choice here, but let's go with a trusty one. Okay, drawing color black, and T dot border style. Okay, T dot border style equals, and I've got all these various types here. Ridge. Let me try that. No, I'll try solid. That's a bit more sensible. Okay, so now having done that, what I should now do is be able to see the table properly formatted. So if I go press start debugging, again, excuses for the the speed is quite slow, but at which it actually starts to display. So there it is. Now, I've got a border on the table, but not on the cells or on the rows. So, well, the other thing to do is just put them into the cell itself, and I can just do that by saying. So each time I create a cell, so TCS table cell. Let me stop. Type in TC dot border width equals 1. I'll just kind of put that dot border width equals 1 for all the other ones as well. So TC1 dot border width equals 1, and TC2 dot border width equals 1. Okay, so now having done that, I should have a border around the table and a border around all of the cells in the table. Hopefully, so here we go. It does indeed appear as such. So there you see, it's now looking like what a table should. Probably it would be nicer if it were in the middle, but we can cover that in a subsequent lesson. One thing we could, however, do here, though, is apply some style values. Okay, and yes, I think I'll leave that actually for the next video, because that's another can of worms. So I'll deal with that next. It's just some more formatting that we can apply to make this table look nicer.